We're back on the Real News Network. We're here speaking about a letter given to Congress last week, signed by 31 major scientific organizations in the U.S. These organizations represent millions of scientists. This letter was given to urge Congress to address climate change, to support climate action, not only in reducing greenhouse gas emissions, but also in supporting adaptation methods globally. So joining us here again to speak about this letter is Dr. Rush Holt. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, the organization that spearheaded this letter, and he previously served as a member of the U.S. House of Representatives for 16 years. He's also a seasoned physicist. Thanks for coming back.
Thanks, Darna. I appreciate your covering this.
So going back into sort of the inaction and the action taken by the U.S. government on climate change, last week the Senate Appropriations Committee approved a $500 million spending package for the Green Climate Fund for international climate change adaptation. President Obama has promised $3 billion for the program by 2020. Does this mean that we should have hope? Are things improving amongst the House and Senate?
Well, I mean, it's a step. The president has asked for a lot because he understands, I think, the seriousness and the urgency of the situation. Congress has responded modestly. There are still many members of Congress who approach this from an ideological point of view. In fact, climate change has become more of an ideological debate than kind of many other things in front of us. Actually, on so many issues nowadays, people fall back on their pre-cooked opinions, in other words, their ideologies, and refuse to look at the evidence. That's particularly true in climate change. And with this letter, we're hoping to draw people's attention to the evidence. That, you know, the science is by nature not meant to be ideological. It is supposed to be open to the evidence, and the evidence should lead a scientist or anyone looking at evidence to change their mind if necessary, depending on what the evidence says. And the evidence, as collected by thousands and thousands of different scientists following different paths of study, has pointed to these conclusions: that climate change is real, largely human-induced, deadly, costly, and that there are some things we should try to do about it. And so, you know, it's too bad that people have dug in their heels. And yes, what you point to is maybe cause for some hope. But until some of the key people in Congress stop digging in their heels and thinking that this is an ideological debate, we're going to have problems. You know, with the ozone hole, the ozone depletion in the stratosphere, that is, or with the acid rain, the sulfur absorbed in moisture in the air that came down as sulfuric acid and so forth in the lakes. Those things were largely taken care of, not completely, but because people realized because people approached it not as pre-cooked ideological debates.
But as you're saying,
they said, let's see how we can fix these. And they did, by banning the chlorofluorocarbons, by putting various additions or changes in our power plants to remove the sulfur dioxide and other acid-causing chemicals. So yes, we could do this, and actually we could improve our quality of life by having better energy systems.
Sure, I think in a number of ways.
It needn't be bad for people. It could be good.
But despite all of this evidence, a couple of weeks ago, Congress turned down climate change adaptation funding for the Pentagon, which is the second largest clean energy buyer in the United States. Climate change has been said by some to be a bigger threat to national security than ISIS. So what does that sort of say about Congress's vision and plan for the future?
It says we have a long way to go, and we can we can change the way we emit greenhouse gases. It will take some effort. Change is often hard, but I would argue that everybody would benefit, not just by preventing or mitigating some of these damaging effects of climate change, but in many other ways, by using our energy efficiently, by reducing emissions of all kinds, not just carbon dioxide, by having more convenient transportation systems and energy generation systems, we could have improvements in our quality of life and reduce probably some of these serious problems coming from climate change. So Congress had better get with it. Much of the rest of the world is getting with it. We are not the leaders now. We are to some extent, the international impediment in dealing with this. I appreciate your covering the story, and I thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us, Dr. Holt.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.